But rotation applies to all athletes. To low chop, you can hear that difficulty in my voice. Hey team, Coach Tyler here with a video for your hip flexors. If you have been told by a coach or a trainer or seen another video talking about tight hip flexors, stop wasting your time only stretching. I want you to combine the stretching with actual resistance and weight. So try this out. We are going to use a cable setup, a cable stack. You can use a band as well. Anchor the band or the cable as high as you can. Then we're going to be sideways. So we're actually going to be chopping from high over our shoulders down to the opposite pocket. Now the leg that is going to be forward is the leg closest to that cable stack or that band. And you're gonna see this back leg is pretty far behind me. I want that back leg to be very, very long so that this hip flexor is starting to feel stretched already. So before I even do anything with the cable, it's already being stretched. And then I'm just going to chop from high to low. And it should be heavy enough that just 6 reps is going to be a pretty solid amount of work. By going heavy enough, this load is forcing me to contract down into this back leg as kind of the leg I'm really leaning on more to drive into it. And that load is going to lengthen that stretch on the hip flexor even more. So you're gonna feel with every rep that as you contract and chop down, that stretch kind of intensifies every time you chop. And here I am just showing you the other angle. So look at this back leg. It's really far behind me. I actually don't want to have too much bend in the knee. I want it to be really, really long. So I'm kind of creating this arc shape from my shoulder through my waist to that back leg. Again, going from that high to low chop, you can hear that difficulty in my voice. And every time I initiate that hand pushing down into the cable, I feel that extra necessity of the glute to contract this leg to drive that foot into the ground and get a little bit more lengthening out of that hip flexor. So if you're someone that feels this is too tough, your balance is too frustrating, you can very easily do this just by dropping to a knee. So drop to this knee, shift your body weight forward so that knee joint is kind of behind you. Then we're gonna go through the same exact movement, but now the balance aspect of the harder version I showed isn't really a factor. If anything, I'm feeling the same amount of stretch. So this 2 foot just standing version is just a little bit more applicable to being athletic and having to be in positions like that. But down to your knee, you could go even heavier than what I was just doing and still get just as much load on that hip flexor. So I like both versions for anyone from 0 to an elite level athlete. And now diving into my rotational athletes. Obviously, if you've watched my videos, you know I specify for tennis a lot, but rotation applies to all athletes. So thinking of baseball, lacrosse, golf, tennis, anything with an implement where that rotational power is so key, you can see where that translates. But with tennis, this position where I'm in hip flexion so much, there's so much striking the ball and knee extension, but not true hip extension. Yes, you'll definitely get some hip extension with your groundies, but tennis players routinely have injuries where I see that working on your hip extension actually helps them to get out of that pain, strengthen their way to be as far away from a potential injury again. So getting into this hip extension position is so key because athletes that are great at hip extension are usually those going in a line all the time, sprinters, anyone that has to dead sprint forward mostly like a wide receiver. But tennis, basketball is so lateral where we're in this hip flexion angle. So in our weight training, our resistance training, being able to train hip extension is kind of the other half of the pie where, hey, the question is, what am I missing in my training? What does the tennis do so much of that I'm not doing in the weight room? So I should do that in the weight room so that I feel better as an athlete. So hopefully this one helps you guys. If you liked this video or you have any questions about injuries or things you want to work on, I promise I get back to you in the comments. So comment, like the video, and subscribe to support. I really, really appreciate it. Subscribe and support and ask away with anything. I promise I will get back to you.